Well, Jeremy, Pip Pirrip is amongst Charles Dickens' most famous creations and greatest creations, in fact. No pressure then.
No, exactly. Yeah.
What were the challenges you faced as you undertook this role?
Oh God, you know, I tried not to look at it like that. I tried to just, you know, approach it as afresh and new. And you know, David Nichols had written a script that was all of those things. You know, it was. There's two ways of reading Dickens, and there's one way where you look at it and you see the funny character names, and it was all very kind of silly and farcical. And then you can look at it for real. And with Great Expectations, something comes out of doing it like that, which David tapped into, where he kind of, you know, you look at Pip's upbringing, for example. You know, there's one way of looking at, oh, he's beaten with a stick with a funny name called Tickler, or you can look at it in the way that this is someone who's the victim of the most awful domestic violence. You know, he has been abused, and every hour of his life he's put down, and you know, physically beaten, and you know, it's the sort of thing that nowadays would make you shudder, and you just kind of, you know, that when you look at that, everything starts slotting into place. You know, you have the reason why he's so awful to people is because he develops this ambition of becoming a gentleman. But this isn't some sort of childish, whimsical idea. This is a deep, burning obsession, and it really becomes an obsession. And it's not. There's nothing gentle about it. You know, it's violent, and it gets to the point where when Jaggers comes to tell him that he has Great Expectations, that, you know, he just gets tunnel vision, and that's it. And if it means abusing these people, then fine. And if it means not marrying the girl that he should marry, then fine. That's what it takes to become a gentleman, and that explains, you know, everything about the story and sort of why he treats people the way he does.
And of course his other great obsession is Stella, and he's been besotted by her since a youth as well. What does he see in this girl? Because truly she has had her heart taken away from her and her emotions taken away by Miss Havisham.
In a way, she's very much like him. You know, she is another person who's been abused, you know, who's been damaged, who's been played with in a most evil, vile sort of way, you know. Really, you know, Miss Havisham has a wonderful line which is, I took her heart out and put ice in its place. And, you know, she's taken away everything that's lovely and innocent about her. And so I suppose on a very deep level he sees that, but he also sees her as, she is the epitome of his ambition to get out of the life that he's in. He sees her as everything that's right, and he is everything that's wrong, you know, and that's kind of where that comes from. And that's why it's such a serious love. It's not a childish kind of teenage fling, you know. He really becomes obsessed.
And at what point do you think, what is the pivotal point? Where does he just finally start to mature and, you know, realise and recognise what he is?
Only at the very end. I think only when we see him, and maybe the last 2 or 3 scenes, and you see someone who's exhausted, who's broken, who's just, all the fight's gone out of him. And he's finally not trying to be anything else. You know, the way I approached Pip was I always thought, you know, okay, well, who's he want to be? Who's he want to be? And you're always playing who he wants to be. Rather than playing him, you're playing who'd like people to think he is. And, you know, it's only then, it's so sad, because you just see someone who's just given up, but finally he's not pretending to be anyone. Unfortunately, I don't know, people can read into the ending however they want, but I think these are two people who are just, they're so damaged by this point, they'll never be able to love each other. I don't know.
Well, Great Expectations wasn't loved by the critics when it first came out, you know, when it was serialised, but of course people I think generally accept it now as amongst Dickens' greatest work. Why do you think it was absolutely right for the big screen treatment in this such an auspicious anniversary year?
Yeah, I mean, for a start, Dickens writes in a very cinematographic, he just, you know, you read it and it sounds like you're reading a storyboard in places, you know, and Pip saw this, and at the same time I saw this, and at the same time I saw this, and he does close-ups, and he does, you know, and it kind of, that's wonderful. I mean, you know, also, you know, the fact that there hasn't been a version a big screen period version in such a long time, you know, and I felt that the last version, you know, the David Lean version was wonderful, but it was very much of the period, and actors were very withheld, and everyone speaks very properly. And we wanted to kind of do a modern film in period clothing. So you know, when actors want to scream at each other, they scream at each other, and you know, it's violent and it's visceral and it's raw and it's sexy. You know, like it's kind of bringing that back. Hopefully, yeah.
And the young chap I saw it with, he's a graduate in humanities, but actually admitted he'd never read any Dickens at all. And I think that actually must be a lot of young people's experience now.
I'm sure.
What would you say to young cinemagoers to encourage them to come to see Great Expectations?
Oh God, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, I feel like because of some quite bad period movies, which are quite boring, I feel like, you know, if you've seen one of them, then you put off period movies for life. But this isn't a period movie in a sense, you know. This is a modern movie, yeah, in the costumes, which in themselves are a bit odd and kind of stylized. So you know, it's kind of you know, it's exciting, and it's there's a reason why it's still so popular. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it made me go out and buy the book, and I've started reading
Thank
it again.
you very much.
That's what you and the cast have done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Lovely to meet you.
Really
Thank
good
you.
to meet you.